Hi everyone, it's Knitting in Our Jeans, and yes, I'm a little lonely here. We thought Elizabeth was going to be able to come over. She's back from Seattle, but she left her voice in Seattle. Actually, it may be a reaction, an allergic reaction to some kitties, cats that she was visiting, and so she's taking it easy today. So I'm flying solo here. It's been an incredibly busy week. We have another pattern up for test knitting on Ravelry. It's in our group on Ravelry, and so message me and I can give you the link to the pattern. It's a cable cowl. I figure my best bet for trying all kinds of new patterns is to make them into cowls first. And I like cowls because, you know, there's not all those loose ends that you have with a scarf. That can be made into a scarf. I haven't figured out what kinds of ends I'd want to put on a scarf. Whether I'm not big on fringe because that tends to, I don't know, deteriorate, get tangled, etc. But maybe picot edges. I have to figure out what I'd want to put on an edge of a scarf to make it interesting. So anyway, we have a second cowl up for test knitting in Ravelry. I also put out a call for test knitters on Instagram. So if anybody's interested, I can send you the link to the Google Doc, and you can test knit it. It's another cowl based on a code, a base 8 code of Nevertheless She Persisted. I knit the cable cowl in the Asylum superwash sock. And so anyway, that's new. The other thing is that Knit Picks had a call out for outdoor wear and Stash Busters. Well, in their outdoor wear, they said, we'd love a cowl that turns into a hood. So I rewrote a pattern of ours. So it's the lace cowl that I then managed to insert a hood into, and I figured out how it could be a simple, kind of a simpler addition of stitches, and then there's also with additional lace stitches in it. I think it's a rather, my drawing of what the cowl would look like really looks pretty bad. I really have to work at either Photoshop or Illustrator. And I think I have to figure out how I might be able to draw something on my iPad, because I do have a pencil/pen for my iPad. And my drawing in Illustrator was just, it wasn't great, to be honest. But I wanted to, I saw the call and I wanted to submit something. So, you know, fingers crossed, we'll see. The other thing is I'm working on my third cowl. So this is my second cable, third cowl, and you can see the cables are going both in and out, forming diamonds. And this is what Elizabeth wanted. So third cowl, to try the stitches out, get the gauge, etc. And then what she really wants is a sweater pattern. So I wound 4 balls. Actually, I have 4 skeins of Tina's Toasty Toes, which is 523 yards. And I have that downstairs, 1 ball wound up. But because my first thought was, what I want to do is I want to make a generic, for me, sweater pattern that then I can start inserting cables and lace, etc. into. And I thought, I don't think I want this in just a plain sweater. I mean, it's pretty, but then I realized I had this, which I've had for years. It's worse, Wollmeise. And it is, I think, newsprint. It's Birkenrind is the colorway. And I have 6 of these things. So there are 340 yards in this. So I have 6 of them. So I have plenty for a sweater. And I figure I can play with a V-neck. I can play with, maybe you know, in the middle of winter, I love a round neck with these big cowl collars. You know, just kind of flop around, kind of like my MoMA. Speaking of my MoMA, I've got something to say about that too. But I also love a V-neck. I mean, there are times when I just go up like a furnace and at a moment's notice. So it's nice to have this breathing, area for a sweater. So I'm thinking that really what I'll do with this is make my first generic V-neck pattern, and then I can use this for this cable. So when I finish this, which I hopefully will finish it tonight, and bind it off, or at least block it, so I can block it and get the gauge and stuff like that, then I can write this pattern up. I need to write the hat up, and I need to do that tomorrow. So that's my tomorrow. Block this, get the gauge, be able to write this pattern up, which is going to be a little more difficult than, well, it and the hat are about equal difficulty. The hat, I'm losing stitches. I'll figure it out. And this, they're going in and out. I've got traveling cables, which I adore. I'm having such a good time with it. Not having such a good time with the yarn. The Asylum Fiber yarn was really good in that it wasn't splitty at all, and I could almost do it in my sleep. Whereas this one, it's darker, so I had to move the lights downstairs to have the light right over my head. So it was directly overhead, because I'm not sitting where I normally sit on the sofa. I'm sitting in Richard's chair while Richard takes over my place on the sofa while his knee continues to recuperate. He is doing phenomenally well. It's amazing. One, he's just in great shape because he's been exercising and going to PT for forever. And secondly, his leg is somewhat numb. So he may not be feeling all the effects of the surgery that other people might. In fact, that's likely. But anyway, he's doing great. He's wandering in the house, usually leaving his cane behind. It's much like me and my glasses, that I take them off and I leave them behind, and then I'm wandering around when I want to go out. Where are they? But, enough of that. So anyway, I will probably wind up one skein of this and start working on this after I write the hat pattern and work up a generic sweater pattern for me, and then work on getting cables into sweaters and maybe the lace into sweaters. So the fire that was lit at Vogue Knitting this year certainly hasn't died at all. So that I'm busy. So got a pattern into Knit Picks, got another pattern that's been tech edited and is up for test knitting on Ravelry. And if you're interested in doing that, just message me on Ravelry and I'll give you the information about it. And people are posting in our group on Ravelry, which is great. Then my MoMA. This is my second MoMA, and I had tried to do a very large cowl neck on it, and which it is, but it flops all over the place, and I really hate it. So I'm threading a needle through here, and I'm going to take this neck off. It flops. I'm going to start off with size 1.5 needles, and eventually get out to a size 5 or 6 needle. So it kind of hugs my neck and then comes out. That is the plan. The other thing with this is that I hadn't done it all in ribbing, and I think ribbing would help this a lot. So my plan is to do, I think, either a knit 1, purl 1, or a knit 2, purl 2 in this, which is Bass Line. The color is Water's Edge. So by Molly Girl, fingering weight. So that is my plan for the MoMA, and I want to get started on that. So first I have to finish threading the needle through, And then I can take off the neck that's there and go at it with the Molly Girl. I could take out the bind off at the bottom and add a couple rows. The Molly Girl came off in pieces, so I've got the main ball, I've got this little bit, and I've got this bit, and so I could put this much on the bottom hem, which I think is an idea. I think I'd rather do that than take off the cuff of the sleeves. I have to think about that. But some of this will go either on the cuffs or the hem of my MoMA. As you may or may not remember, I bought this a year and a half ago at Rhinebeck, and they re-dyed yarn for me because I wanted 7 skeins. And the ones that I had seen at Rhinebeck had a little bit more color variation in them, but they had only had 5 skeins. This doesn't have the same amount of color variation that their skeins at Rhinebeck have. So I've learned that for some dyers, they find it, and they are one of a kind basically. They're doing pots of this stuff, and whether or not you can get a really close match. I mean, it's you know, these individual dyers, the dyes lots are idiosyncratic, and I understand that. So I mean, I got all of one dye lot, but I wasn't as happy with the color variation. So with this, I'll get some color variation, and I think I'll like it a lot better. So that's my plan for that. I have no plans to submit anything else to Knit Picks until I hear back from them about the pattern that I did submit. In between working on the pattern for the hat and the pattern for this new cable cowl, well, probably not this week, but maybe next week I'll start some tutorials on Adobe Illustrator, because I need to figure out how I can manipulate, you know, lines and curves and things like that much better, because doing it on the fly wasn't really doing it. So anyway, but I've had a good week. I mean, I got a lot done, and I am sorry that Elizabeth is under the weather. This is, I only have this much more yarn of this colorway, but I think it will stretch out nicely. I'm going to block it with 1 inch of its life, and the ball of yarn has been about this size for 2 nights, so I must wind pretty tight when I'm starting off the ball of yarn. So I'm hoping to finish this tonight and be able to block it tomorrow. So we'll see. I'm repeating myself now. I think that's about it. So I will end here. I will say we hope to see Elizabeth here next week. I have bought yarn from Knit Picks. And we'll talk about that when we see her next. I haven't even opened it. It's behind me over here. And you're going to look at this and go, why are you buying yarn? Well, they had a sale. And I think you all can remember my dress that I made that was a combination of 2 different patterns. When I finish writing the pattern, you know, my generic pattern for the sweater, I can alter that and take a piece of it off and then add the skirt to it. So I mean, I'm just bursting with ideas. It's just crazy, absolutely crazy. And then of course we can take the lace and we can translate that into a sweater. We can look at, I think, the lace sweater in some of my cotton/wool mix yarn would be really nice. And we can make it in a toddler size. We've got a toddler in Louisiana who apparently loves wearing knitted things, or her mother loves putting knitted things on her. So I can make that up in a toddler size, and we can see how that goes. I can even make it up in cotton, toddler size, and we can see how that goes, because I do have cotton behind me. And I think that's about it. So good to see you all. we've still been busy over here. We'll be busy again this week, hopefully getting 2 patterns written. We'll see. We will see. I've been able to get some edits done in not Photoshop, but in Adobe Acrobat Pro from the Stitch Mastery program. So that's been helpful, I think. And we'll go from there. Anyway, have a great weekend. Happy St. Patrick's Day. And hopefully we'll see you next week. Bye.